Good evening. I'm still reporting on the coup. It was entirely predictable that the truth would eventually come out about COVID and the coup and the Bidens and Obama and even the Clintons. The truth is an immovable force, an absolute, and even though the minions of Satan did what they could to obfuscate it and delay it, the truth is now starting to flow out from 1,000 different sources and will soon turn into a giant, unstoppable river. Dr. Scott Atlas, a professor at Stanford University, replaced Drs. Grouchy and Burps as President Trump's COVID advisors on August 10, 2020, nearly 2 years ago. He fearlessly spoke the truth directly into the face of Grouchy, Burps, and the majority of the medical community at Stanford and elsewhere, who at that time were still under the thrall of those who sought to keep the world confused about the usefulness of masks, vaccines, and lockdowns to treat COVID. He, like only a handful of honest physicians, did their best to save countless lives by turning the herd in the face of their stampede. Hopefully, a future U.S. president will set this record straight by awarding heroes like Dr. Atlas the thanks of a grateful nation. 1 month after accepting his post at the White House, 78 of Atlas's former colleagues at Stanford Medical School signed an open letter criticizing Atlas. After a bruising tenure of just less than 4 months, Dr. Atlas resigned his White House position. Well, real science has now caught up with the medical world who opposed Dr. Atlas, despite the fact that his Wikipedia page has not. Dr. Atlas appeared last night on Tucker Carlson's show on Fox to set the medical record straight on the utter destructiveness of the lockdowns. But first, a word from our sponsor. You have less than 24 hours to take advantage of Cerul's BOGO offer, available only to our viewers. For the entire month of July, Cerul is offering only to my listeners an unbelievable BOGO offer on not only Stem Enhance Ultra, but its 2 companion products, Cyactive and Plasma Flow. BOGO, of course, means buy one, get one free. These 3 products work synergistically to reverse the signs of aging. Stem Enhance Ultra, or SEU, is the only product on the market that is clinically proven to increase your own blood levels of adult stem cells. Adult stem cells are the key to what makes your natural immunity function properly. Cyactive knocks out roadblocks for adult stem cells to get to their target areas by reducing inflammation in the blood vessels. Plasma flow, as its name implies, helps reduce the friction in the blood flow by breaking down the fibrin mesh, one of the possible causes of certain long COVID problems. And as always, Cerul offers their bulletproof 30-day money-back guarantee. Here is a list of scientific studies supporting the efficacy of Cerul's Big 3 product lineup. You can get clickable links in the description box below. Don't delay. You only have until the stroke of midnight on August 1st to take advantage of this incredible BOGO offer. You can buy up to 3 bottles of SEU, Cyactive, and/or Plasma Flow at the regular price and get 3 more bottles free. Your choice. Go to https://icerul.biz/thestillreport for details on this BOGO offer.
In the name of public health, the government shut down the economy for more than a year. And obviously quite a bit of suffering ensued. In fact, it tanked the economy. We haven't yet recovered from it. But the promise was we're going to save lives. We're doing the right thing. But that turned out not to be true either. As researchers at Johns Hopkins found recently, quote, lockdowns have had little to no effect on COVID-19 mortality. So then you got to kind of wonder, what does the whole picture look like? Was it all downside? Kind of seems that way. Dr. Scott Atlas is the former White House coronavirus advisor and the author of the book A Plague Upon Our House. He joins us tonight. Doctor, thanks so much for coming on. You really hate to conclude, after the mass suffering this country went through for more than 2 years, that there was no benefit at all. But is that, do you think, true?
Well, it's worse than that. There was a massive destruction. And this is why in the 2006, this is, 10, 15 years before this happened, the pandemic literature already said that lockdowns were not to be used because they don't work and they're extremely destructive. So this was known, which is even more shocking. But what we see, as you said, is that all the data that comes in shows that the lockdowns did not stop the spread of the infection, did not save lives, and in fact, a lot of the states that did open did better, no matter what you hear, than the states that had severe closure. But what's worse is the economic downturn, which was vilified, somehow it was distorted by the media and others as somehow if you're choosing the economy over lives if you don't lock down. And it's the opposite, because for decades it was known in the economics literature that severe economic downturns kill people. And that's exactly what we've seen by throwing people into severe poverty. In the United States alone, about 200,000 small businesses were closed. Many of those jobs are lower income jobs. In fact, the low-income people selectively were destroyed by the lockdowns that were really what I call a luxury of the rich. If you look at the unemployment data alone, you see that the unemployment for low-income jobs is something like 23 to 28%, whereas for high-income jobs, it's about 0, maybe 5%. I mean, this is obvious, and also young people were destroyed because a lot of the industries that were shut down were jobs for young people. So another sort of extra sin that we did by committing harm to our younger people. In the world, for our country that's supposed to care about poor people, more than 100 million people in the world were thrown into abject poverty from the lockdowns, particularly the lockdowns of the West, actually, which interrupts the whole job cycle. And so these people, we're talking about $1.90 per day, according to World Bank. More than 100 million people now, abject poverty. There's an explosion of what was known already to happen, which is massive drug abuse, massive surge in domestic violence against women, the highest rate in more than 25 years, according to the UN. There's a significant increase in teenage harms, teenagers in the United States, explosion of suicide attempts in teenage girls, tripling of self-harm visits to doctors. This is partly because of the economic deprivation of these families, particularly low-income families. And by the way, not just closing schools is harmful, but severe economic downturn, it generally affects the educational efforts of low-income families. Poor kids, low-income kids, are less likely to go to school when their family needs them to work for money. I mean, this is common sense, something that was missing completely. Again, historic public health errors. I mean, we have the unemployment was deeper and more prolonged in the low-income jobs, by the way, more prolonged and worse, according to Chetty and others from Harvard. The educational disparities now are much worse. Poor kids are further behind. In fact, there's an explosion of lack of ability in the world to have even 10-year-olds read a simple sentence, the highest rate in decades. And the last point I want to make is that the compilation of the data, even more recently than the study you suggested, by Casey Mulligan at University of Chicago and others, when he ranked the states in their success of response to the pandemic and correlated, they accounted for deaths from COVID, educational harms, and employment harms. Guess what happened? The states that did not close the businesses or reopened very early did much better. South Dakota didn't close any businesses. They ranked 5th best. Florida, 6th best, whereas the bottom 5 are the states that did the severe lockdowns and closures. And who are they? New York, California, Washington, D.C., New Jersey, Pennsylvania. That's the 47 to 51, the worst in the country. So this kind of economic downturn killed people, and it destroyed selectively low-income people and minorities.
Also predictable. So nicely put. Devastating, really. Dr. Scott Alice tonight. Thank you.
I'm still reporting from just outside the citadel of world freedom, Good day.